Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan O'Hare, Senior Video Producer here at Switcher Studio. And today we're going to be talking about YouTube analytics. A lot of what you all have been creating can be used outside of just your live streams on YouTube and Facebook. You have all this great content that you've been creating, so now you can cut it down or post it in its entirety on YouTube. And with a little bit of knowledge of YouTube analytics, you can increase your reach and audience. Joining me today is Dale Gaughan. Dale is the manager of multi-platform insights and analytics at Viacom CBS. After working in digital ad sales for 2 years, she transitioned to social media analytics at Viacom CBS. Dale and I worked together while I was at Paramount Network in TV Land, and she's taught me literally everything I know about YouTube. Her role since then has expanded to also include working with Smithsonian Channel, Pop, and Comedy Central. She analyzes content and builds out optimization strategies while also staying up to date on the ever-changing social media landscape. In the 3 years of working at Viacom CBS, she has been able to witness the incredible and complex growth of TikTok, along with the shift on YouTube from short clips to longer form viewing. Dale prides herself on being an early adopter of TikTok, as well as being a resident expert on Gen Z social trends. I do want to go ahead and say that Dale lives in New York, and there's always construction going on in New York, and today there happens to be construction going on right outside of her window. So please excuse any jackhammers that you might hear. This is what happens when you go live. Yep. So running Switcher, we have Dan Petrick, our co-founder and senior product educator here at Switcher Studio. He'll be answering any questions you have in the comments. If you have anything for Dale or I, just make sure to shout it out. Great, so I think we'll go ahead and jump right in. So one of the things that people need to know about YouTube is that it's a search engine. And just like Google, it uses an algorithm to rank all the content. So Dale, what does someone need to know about this algorithm to be successful?
Yeah, so a couple different things. So the algorithm is essentially based on, most importantly, watch time. So of course, watch time allows for ads. It allows for pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll. If a clip is 8+ minutes, that allows for mid-roll, which is especially important. So again, watch time is incredibly important to have. Now, what I always like to say is that retention, so the amount of time on average that someone's watching your video, it's at about 50% of the actual video. So the sweet spot really to get a good retention is about 8 to 11 minutes, 15 plus, even 20 minutes is definitely helpful. Because again, if the audience is only watching about 50%, that means on an 8-minute long video, it's actually about 4 minutes. So definitely important to have a longer video. Again, just sort of goes back to that retention. A strong retention will absolutely help your video in the actual algorithm.
Right. And so the main idea to keep in mind is that people are there longer on YouTube so that they're being served ads. So YouTube will then, prioritize content that is longer and engaging so that they can make more money off of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on that note, engagement is always a key. So not just retention, but also just comments and likes and shares. So YouTube actually looks at a video with high engagement rate as a healthy video, a video that should be shared out in the algorithm. So of course, you want those likes, you want those comments, you want those shares. And a great way to do that is really just sort of promoting comments. So asking your viewers to actually engage, comment, like it, things like that. Never be afraid to ask your viewer for it. But also just simple things like tagging a comment in the comment section, sort of starting that conversation, pinning a comment, things like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have this fear that they're going to come off hokey or unauthentic if they're asking people to comment or like or subscribe even on their videos. But that's the world of YouTube. It's what's expected. It's what people know that they're going to be asked to do. So don't be shy about asking people to comment or like on your video. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So since YouTube is a search engine, what kind of search engine optimization or SEO best practices should a YouTube creator use?
Sure. So there's a ton of different little tweaks you can do. Now, one of the big things is just your title. So it sort of goes in a funnel where it's, you have your title, you have your description, and then you have your tags. Title is especially important. You want to make it punchy. You want to use really strong words, maybe capital words, if that makes sense for your audience. And then again, just sort of keywords like, if you have a video about reactions, use react. React is an incredibly strong word on YouTube. So again, just sort of leaning into those strong words that make sense with your video. Another important thing to keep in mind is, you want to make your title short and sweet. A lot of viewers watch YouTube clips on their mobile phone, and on your mobile phone, things get shrunk. So if you have a long title, only half of it is really seen on the mobile phone. So again, make sure it's short and sweet. Make sure you have those strong words in the front of the title, not sort of in the back of the title, because it could likely get cut off. And then aside from that, description, so making sure you have those keywords. Tagging, so you have a couple different tags that you can add to your video. It goes right below the actual video. So making sure you have some general tags, but you also have some specific tags that are related to your actual video. And then aside from that, make sure if you're working with someone, if you're working with another YouTuber, make sure you tag them in your actual video. YouTube allows that, so again, just great for cross promotion there. So a ton of different little things you can do.
Yeah. Especially like backlinking. For us, it's to our website, to other social platforms, and linking back to YouTube, but as well as linking to other videos, creating this network of SEO goodness.
Yeah, yes, really definitely.
So you mentioned making sure that your title is short and sweet and to the point, but has all the keywords. So what about all the descriptions? Should you limit how long your descriptions are or anything like that?
So description is sort of tricky, because if you actually look at the video, some of your description gets cut off. So you want to make sure you have the sort of best and the biggest and most exciting words and descriptions in your first few sentences. And then, of course, you could add more on the bottom. Again, I definitely say make sure you have those keywords. So again, if you have a reaction video, the title could be "This person reacts to this," and then in your description, actually go into it into more detail, add a few more keywords, add your company, add the description of your company, things like that. So best and brightest on top, add all the other keywords, key descriptors on the bottom.
Nice. So let's say that we've done a great job with our SEO. People are being presented our video in browse and suggested. They're seeing that little thumbnail that we've created for the video. What can we do to make sure that our thumbnails are actually being clicked on and we have a high click-through rate, or CTR?
Yeah, so thumbnail is equally important, if not almost more important than your title, because again, as the viewer is scrolling, it's the thumbnail that will catch their eye. So absolutely important to sort of follow best practices. So that includes, if you have someone in the thumbnail, making sure they're looking at the camera, looking at the viewer. Eye contact is important, even in thumbnails. And then aside from that, so bright colors. So you don't want those sort of muted, darker colors. You want something that stands out. And then also, again, a thumbnail, it's very specific to your audience. So I always, say to experiment. Things that work with one audience, one channel might not work with the other. So again, just experiment with different thumbnails, see what works best. Experiment with, words on the actual thumbnail. That's a great place to include more detail if you don't have enough room in your title. So just including some keywords on the actual thumbnail, including a quote, things like that. But again, experiment, always experiment, really just find out what works with your audience.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know that it doesn't have to actually say your title. Brought up quotes, because there's nothing that's actually reading your thumbnail except for a human being. So it's not really going to help you or your SEO, but you can use a really engaging quote from the video to pull in a potential viewer. I think we have 2 thumbnails. Dale, if you want to take a look at these and tell us which is your favorite and why.
Of course. So definitely the one on the left, iPad Pro, the best portable live streaming rig, is sort of fits in all the best practices. You have someone looking at the camera, again, eye contact, which is so important. You have the bright colors, which again, just catches the eye. You have a title that actually is decently long, but has really important information. And then what I sort of like the most is that even though on the right-hand side, it includes Switcher Studio, on the left-hand side is actually the logo. So, I mean, again, having a logo, always important. It's always good for sort of branding. So a viewer can see it and automatically think, oh, hey, this is from Switcher Studio. So again, on the left, fits all the best practices, A+. Definitely would recommend using that one.
Great. Good to know. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier was experimentation. Make sure you're always working on trying new things. And I think it's important to note that that should be your philosophy with everything YouTube related. Always try experimenting with new best practices and seeing what works for you. What works for one person may not work for you and your audience. So always be tweaking little things to see what works best for you.
Yeah, and I will say, the first 3 days, first 7 days of a video, that's the most important sort of time in YouTube's algorithm. That's the amount of time where YouTube is sort of sharing the video out, sort of seeing if it is, again, a healthy video, if it should be placed into the algorithm. So in those first 3 days, feel free to experiment. Feel free to, maybe change something about it just to see if that leads to spikes in CTR. So again, very important, first 3 days, first 7 days.
Nice. Well, Dale, is there anything you would like to add for all of our viewers that are just diving into YouTube analytics and things that, learning the best practices for sharing content on YouTube?
Yeah, so I would definitely say use the extras, I suppose, if you want to call it that. So the community tab, that's a great place to engage with fans, great place to post new content, but also a great place to sort of, see what the audience wants. So you can post polls. So you can ask your audience directly, hey, what do you want to see from us? What would you like a video about? So don't be afraid to use the community tab. And then aside from that, YouTube Stories is a great place to share out your content. YouTube Stories isn't just shared to your fans, your subscribers, it's shared to everyone. It's also a relatively new space, so definitely get in there while you can before it gets a bit cluttered. And again, great place to share highlights from clips with a swipe up to the full video. And then, aside from that, cadence is also incredibly important. So make sure you have a good cadence, good output, consistent output. That's another thing that can help you in the actual algorithm.
So what kind of cadence should someone try to reach?
Yeah, so it's definitely different for every for different brands, different channels. I would recommend 2 a week is a good place to start. 1 a week is okay. I think it's more important to make sure you have a consistent output versus just one every few months here and there. It's always good to also announce your cadence. So if you know that you can post once a week on Fridays, make sure your viewers know that. So they can expect, a video every Friday. They'll make their way to their channel to see that.
Nice. That's some very good insight. So I'm gonna throw it to Dan to see if we have any questions from the audience.
We do have a couple good questions, actually. Hey guys, and thank you for all those things in the comments I'm seeing here. One person, Marco, they were asking about changing up thumbnails. I guess they're talking about there's services out there that'll do A/B testing for thumbnails and change them one day after the other. And they're wondering if you had any insight on, is that not a great idea to be switching it because YouTube's trying to optimize your traffic, and switching up the thumbnail of a video might disrupt that? I don't know if you have any insight or could add to anything on that, Dale.
Yeah, so we do that all the time on Paramount side. We'll test out a new thumbnail, see if that leads to any spikes in CTR. Now, we do that in the first 7 days, but we also do that on legacy content, so content that's been posted a while back. I definitely think it's a good idea. I would say at least give 24 to 48 hours after you switch the thumbnail, just to see if, again, it leads to any increases in CTR. If you switch it too quickly, you can't really see those effects. So again, 24, 48 hours is a good length of time, maybe even longer, 3 days. But again, go ahead, switch out that thumbnail, see if it leads to any increases. It's pretty quick, the algorithm. So once you switch it, it'll sort of catch on that, hey, this is a new video, let's retest it. Now, going off that point, we've seen that if you switch the thumbnails on legacy content, again, YouTube thinks it's a new video, so it'll push it out into the algorithm again. So that's a nice way to see some increases in views on older content on your channel.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite little tidbits of YouTube, is just being, taking legacy content, just tweaking the thumbnail a little bit, especially, after a few months have passed, you may have learned some new information about what your audience responds to, and you'll be able to take that and apply it to a new thumbnail design and push that out. And you might see a higher click-through rate, especially since it does kind of feel like YouTube treats it as a new video.
Yep.
That's great insight, both of you guys. So I'm seeing some questions as well. We shared this video out in our Facebook groups that we have as well, so they're able to comment there as well. And I'm seeing some of the basic everyone always asks about YouTube. What is a good way to gain subscribers? I'm sure outside of, I guess, everything we've mentioned so far, right?
Yeah. I would also say, it's always a good idea to sort of glob on to news. So timeliness. Again, it's a search engine. So if something's popular in the news, then, it's popular on YouTube. So that's definitely a good way. Just creating a timely piece that's newsworthy, that can help with subscribers. But again, always good just to follow best practices, make sure your cadence is there, your output's there, interactions with, the audience, but also feel free to cross-promote if you have other channels. Always good to promote your YouTube content on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, things like that.
Yeah, I would just like to add, again, don't be shy about asking people to subscribe. And make sure you're using those end screens where you have a subscribe button pop up at the end of the video. One good method to keep people engaged in the video while that's up is to actually just shrink down the video so that you're still talking, you're still presenting content at the same time that you're showing someone another video and showing them a subscribe button. Because if you wait till the end of the video to do your end screen and it's over just graphics, you risk them leaving your channel and your content to go to a different video.
Yeah, definitely agree.
I see another question that I'm sure gets asked all the time with YouTube, and that is, of course, how do I earn money on YouTube? Is there an easy button to push or hard work?
So it sort of goes back to make sure you have pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, all of that turned on. Make sure you're following, the policies of YouTube. And again, sort of goes back to make sure you have strong retention. Retention is almost more important than views. So if you have that strong retention, then you're opening yourself up to all of those ad roll opportunities.
Yeah, and YouTube has their own requirements before they'll even allow you to monetize your YouTube channel. So one of the things is I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers on your channel. You have to have reached a certain amount of watch time over a certain period of time. You can find this information on YouTube in the channel monetization information. But basically, they just need to know that you already have an audience and that it's worth their time to allow you to make money off of their ads.
That's excellent. I see one more thing coming up here a few times in the comments. I know we touched on it earlier, but talking about tagging, could you kind of reiterate some of the benefits of tagging and best practices for that?
Yeah. So you have a couple different sort of tagging opportunities. One is just placing tags right below the video, right above your title. I believe you have 3 tag options or 3 tags that you can include. Definitely make sure they're general enough for searchability, but you also want to make sure that they're specific enough to your content. So again, say you're making an animal video, so you could do hashtag nature, hashtag your brand or your series or your show, and then hashtag monkeys, something like that, or hashtag animals. So again, making sure they're broad, but they're also specific to the content. And then aside from that, in the actual description, you could include some tags there. And then you could also include a tag if you're working with someone else. You can tag their profile in your actual video. Incredibly important, great for cross promotion, and also great to increase subscribers. So working with other channels, always a great idea. Again, you can sort of share subscribers and increase fan growth that way.
Great. Dale, I have a question regarding tagging. Mm-hmm. So do you have any suggestions on how to find out what tags I should be using?
Yeah, so what you could do, I always like to use the Google Trends. It's free for everyone. You can sort of go there, look at YouTube search, but also just straight up Google search. You can see if a tag is gaining in popularity and sort of go that route. Again, you could also sort of just go to YouTube search, type in, the keyword you're thinking of and see what pops up. If it's really broad, maybe that's not great. Or if you're getting nothing, maybe that's also not great. So again, just sort of the Google Trends, always a great resource, but also just, Googling and see what you have there. And then aside from that, you can always go to your YouTube analytics, go to traffic sources, go to search, and see how people are finding your channel. If you see something popping up constantly, then that's always something good to include in your tags.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things to note about, going to YouTube, checking out the search bar, is that you kind of have to have a balance, right, in the amount of competition you have versus how much this keyword is searched. So you don't want something that's too difficult that everyone's making a video about because you'll just get lost. The big fish will eat you up right away. But if you, on the flip side of that, if you're making a video that doesn't have any competition and there's no search there's not a big quantity of search for that term, no one's going to see your video either. So you have to have a balance of the two there. And one other little trick you can try with YouTube is to make sure that you're in incognito window, so that it's not taking into consideration your past search history. Because YouTube is constantly changing what each person sees based off of what they've searched in the past and what they've clicked on. So using an incognito window on Chrome or Safari will help eliminate some of that.
I'm seeing, I see two more really good questions in the comments here. Someone's asking about putting, if there's any value in adding links to other websites in your video description. So outside of just other videos, does that improve your ranking with the algorithm? Does it do anything? I wasn't even sure if you can put links to outside websites on YouTube anymore, but yeah, any insight you could give on that would be excellent.
Yeah, always good to include links to, outside sites, even other videos, or if you have a playlist that's aligned with the video itself. As for if it improves your ranking, nothing that we've seen. It's really just based on keywords, not exactly links. So I don't think YouTube has sort of built that out yet. But always good to include links there.
Yeah. And just to touch on the ability to add links, you can link in the description. You can link on a card that you insert inside the video itself through YouTube. So there's different ways you can link back to an external website. And I would just like to reiterate: experiment. See what works best for you.
Yeah. And you could always see that success in, again, YouTube Analytics. You could look at your end screen elements and see what's working best. So if you insert, a site that's not YouTube in there, you can see the click-through rate for that specifically. And if you're not seeing too much success there, again, you can insert it in your description, different places in the video, things like that.
That is awesome. I'll say, I'm used to streaming on Facebook. That's what I've done the most. So I'm learning a ton here today as well, from both you guys. So last question here I'm seeing, and I don't know how this might be a very broad question. So you can take it as specific or keep it as broad as you want. But any best practices for independent musicians and bands releasing music videos on YouTube?
I would definitely say nothing specific other than, again, I think cross promotion would be key. If you have, if you can work with other YouTubers, I think that could be a great place to start. There's a huge community for musicians on YouTube. So again, just working with others. And then again, consistent output. I would say that would definitely be a great place to start, just making sure you're consistently putting content out there and building a fan base that way.
Yeah, I agree. The first thing that came to mind was collaboration, Dale. I think, you have really highlighted that throughout this video, that, it's really important to try and work with other YouTubers, because you're introducing yourself to a new audience. Who might later come to your content because they liked your video on someone else's channel.
Yeah. And then another just general point that I can think of is, again, sort of, the timeliness. So if, they produce any covers, maybe making sure that if, there's a song that comes out from, a famous artist, maybe making a cover of that, sort of globbing onto that timeliness, that news. That way, your SEO is in the algorithm, you come up if someone searches this artist.
Great.
That's all. Yeah, that's all the questions I have here. So yeah, I'll take your all's advice and tell everybody to hit that subscribe button below if you're liking this, and the like button. Ryan, yeah, I'll push it back to you. Thank you for those great answers.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Dale, for joining us. We've certainly learned a lot. I hope that a lot of you out there found this information useful. Check out some of the other videos that we have on our YouTube channel. Again, subscribe, and we will see you for our next live stream. Thanks, Dale.
Guys. It's a lot of fun to be here. I love talking about YouTube.
Me too.